The history of the Marvel Universe hinges on a single vial of blue liquid. In 1941, a frail kid from Brooklyn named Steve Rogers sat in a chair, accepted a painful injection, and became the peak of human potential. But buried deep in the Weapon Plus files sat another formula, a Golden Serum, 100,000 times more potent than the one Erskine gave to Steve. This narrative explores what happens when the most moral man in history receives the power of 1 million exploding suns. The war ends in an hour, but the true battle for reality is just beginning. On June 22, 1941, the secret laboratory in Brooklyn hums with nervous energy. In our timeline, Dr. Abraham Erskine selects the blue super soldier serum for his test subject. In this reality, a supply mix-up from the deeper archives of the Weapon Plus program changes everything. The vial loaded into the Vita-Ray chamber isn't blue, but glows with a terrifying yet vibrant gold. This is the Golden Sentry Serum, a formula so volatile it shouldn't technically exist yet. As the microneedles descend, nobody realizes they are building a god rather than a soldier. The reaction is immediate and violent. In the original timeline, Steve screamed in pain as his muscles knit together, but here, the Vita Rays shatter. The Golden Serum doesn't just enhance biology, it displaces the user's molecules an instant ahead of the current timeline. Light floods the room, not from the equipment, but from Steve himself. The Nazi spy, Kruger, fires his gun, but the bullet disintegrates before it even touches Steve's skin. Rogers steps out of the pod, radiating an energy that makes the scientists shield their eyes as he floats 3 inches off the ground. General Phillips wants to run tests, but Steve knows people are dying overseas. He doesn't wait for a uniform or a shield, launching himself from New York to break the sound barrier instantly and arriving in Europe in minutes. The concept of the Howling Commandos never forms, because Steve doesn't need a squad. He descends on the Hydra base at Schmidt's location like a meteor. The Red Skull expects a man in tights, but finds himself staring at a being of pure solar energy. The Tesseract weapons, capable of vaporizing tanks, feel like laser pointers against Steve's chest. World War II doesn't end in 1945, but concludes on a Tuesday afternoon in 1941. Without the plane crash that froze him, Steve Rogers never disappears and returns home as a savior rather than a soldier. The public calls him the Golden Guardian of Liberty, as the 1940s transform into a golden age of technology and safety. With his enhanced perception, Steve can hear crimes before they happen and stop natural disasters. He bridges the gap between nations simply by existing as a deterrent no army can match. However, power this vast has a strange effect on the human mind. Robert Reynolds, the original Sentry, was an addict with a fractured psyche. Steve is stable, but he is also a man who demands order. The Sentry Serum comes with a price, because a dark counterforce must exist for every act of benevolence. Typically, this is the Void, but for Steve Rogers, it manifests as the Commander. This voice in his head sounds like his own, yet colder, and whispers that freedom is dangerous. It tells him that to truly save people, he must control them. Because Steve is so effective, he starts to listen and stops wars by disarming entire nations. He enforces peace with a smile, but his grip is iron tight. A huge thank you to everyone in the comments suggesting these scenarios, as this video exists because of your ideas. We read every single one, so drop your request for the next hypothetical scenario down below. If you're enjoying this timeline, click subscribe to see where we go next. By the 1960s, the world looks radically different. Tony Stark never builds an Iron Man suit because weapons manufacturing was abolished by Steve's decree. Bruce Banner never experiments with gamma radiation because the military has no need for new super soldiers. Thor might visit Midgard, but he finds a planet already under the protection of a god-tier being. The Avengers initiative is never proposed, leaving Nick Fury as a logistics officer, coordinating Steve's global patrol. It sounds like paradise. But the human spirit begins to stagnate, because humanity forgets how to struggle when one man solves every problem. One person remains from the old days, and that is Bucky Barnes. In this timeline, he never fell from the train and lived to see his best friend become a deity. Bucky is the only one who sees the change, noticing the golden light in Steve's eyes turning cold. He witnesses the preventative detentions of people who might cause trouble in the future. Bucky becomes the leader of the resistance, not against Hydra, but against the Golden Guardian. It is a tragic reversal, where the Winter Soldier is the hero of freedom, fighting from the shadows against the man who used to wear the stars and stripes. When the Kree accusers arrive in the 1990s, looking for the Tesseract, they find Steve instead of a prinonamic planet. The battle lasts seconds as Steve flies into space, grabs the Kree warship, and throws it into the sun. The Skrull invasion is halted before it begins, because Steve can identify the shapeshifters from orbit by seeing their auras. Earth becomes a restricted zone for the rest of the galaxy, and even the Watcher Uatu looks on with concern. This is not how the timeline is supposed to go. For Earth is too safe, too quiet, and far too controlled. In 2018, Thanos arrives in search of the Infinity Stones. While this was a desperate war on two fronts in the main timeline, here Thanos steps through a portal into Wakanda and is immediately met by Steve. There is no speech and no snap, as Steve Rogers moves faster than the synapses and Thanos' brain can fire. He catches the Infinity Gauntlet mid-swing and crushes both the metal and the stones with his bare hands. The power of 1 million exploding suns dwarfs the Titan's strength. Thanos knows fear for the first time in his life as he realizes he is not the inevitable one, because Steve is. Destroying the Infinity Stones releases a cosmic backlash, which is the moment the Void has been waiting for. The physical strain cracks Steve's mental barriers, and the Commander takes control. Steve's golden aura turns a sickly void black as he looks at the gathered armies of Wakanda, Bucky, and the world he has saved. He decides they are still too chaotic and determines that free will is the ultimate enemy of peace. The Golden Guardian falls as the void rises, and the sentry symbol on his belt twists into a perfect, inescapable circle of control. The only thing that can stop a sentry is his own mind, and Bucky knows this. He walks out to face the Void Steve, armed with a memory rather than a weapon. He holds up the old photo of them from 1939, before the serums and the wars, speaking to the man inside the monster. This is a suicide mission as the Void lashes out, warping reality itself around them for a moment. Deep inside the black energy, the kid from Brooklyn hears his brother. The perfect soldier realizes he has become the very tyrant he swore to fight back in 1941. Steve Rogers does what he has always done and makes the sacrifice play. He cannot kill the Void without killing himself, and he cannot exist without the Void. He grabs the dark entity of his own shadow and launches himself into the sun. The psychic weight lifts from the planet as he leaves the atmosphere. People wake up from a decades-long stupor as the artificial peace shatters, returning the world to its messy, dangerous, free state. Steve Rogers burns in the heart of the sun, endlessly regenerating and dying to keep his demon locked away in a prison of fire, to protect the world he loves. History remembers him differently in this timeline, not as the star-spangled man with a plan, but as a warning. Statues are built not to honor him, but to remind humanity that absolute power is a curse, even in the hands of the best man. The Avengers eventually form, inspired by the need to protect the world from saviors like him. Bucky Barnes keeps the old shield, which Steve never used, on his wall. It remains unpainted as a disc of pure vibranium, symbolizing the potential for good that never got the chance to shine. Looking back, Dr. Erskine's choice of the blue serum was the true miracle. The Super Soldier Serum didn't make Steve a god, but just made him strong enough to be heard while keeping him human. The Sentry Serum takes away the struggle, and without struggle, Steve Rogers loses the core of who he is. He is defined by getting back up when he is knocked down. If nothing can knock him down, he isn't Captain America anymore, but simply a force of nature. Nature does not care about right and wrong. The story of Captain America proves that the most important part of the hero isn't the bottle he drinks from, but the heart beating underneath. The Sentry power is too much for any one soul to hold, even one as noble as Steve's. The world didn't need a sun god, but just needed a kid from Brooklyn who didn't like bullies. If you want to see us break down what would happen if Iron Man kept the Infinity Stones, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let us know. Thanks for watching.